Well, help me and help esteemed audience kind of demystify the literary agent lifestyle for us. Um, because I know when I first started, and I've talked to enough authors in the querying process that we've got our writers market. We've pulled up middle grade ninja. We've pulled up predators and editors. We're going through and trying to find the right agent. We're listening to podcasts like this. But there's still this lingering question of who is this person? What does an agent do? So what does your average work day look like? What does your average work week look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know what? It's constantly changing. I will just talk about what I've got on the plate for today, I guess. This morning, I've been negotiating a contract for a client for a book I sold last month. And yesterday I also closed another contract, finished negotiating that contract and did signatures. I have to do 10 critiques for an upcoming conference. I have I've got actually 4 client manuscripts that I need to read and give editorial notes for. I have
all this week, or
I'm going to be doing that over the next 2 weeks, probably 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. Some of those are picture books. I've got some picture books as well. I'm going to go on submission with 2 projects tomorrow. And I am constantly reading my query box. So every day I'm a relatively new agent, so I receive about 10 to 15 queries per day. And I read everything personally myself. I don't have an assistant. So I read everything and and with our agency, we have a policy where if you haven't heard from us within 6 weeks, it's a no. And I know that just is terrible. The radio silence is the worst. And I want to tell everyone listening right now, I'm so sorry. I would really love to send everyone personalized responses with notes on your project, because for everyone, I see potential in almost everything I get. The problem is, most of those things aren't ready for me. They're just not polished enough yet. They haven't been revised. I can tell the author's still thinking through their story or still discovering their character. That's not a bad thing. It's just that you're not ready for me. And so sadly, I have to pass. I also get a lot of projects that just aren't the right fit for my list. Like if you sent me a book about a concert pianist going to study with an elite private teacher, I can't take that because I've already sold that book, or I've already got a book about a girl whose father's on death row. I've already got the book about the kid who's studying sumo wrestling. But so those are also reasons why I pass, and I can't respond personally to everyone. However, I am actively seeking clients, and I do request a lot of manuscripts, and I also read those. And those I tend to get a little bit further behind on, because if I really like a project, I want to spend some real time and read quite a bit to make sure that to make sure whether or not it's a good fit for me. And so I will apologize to everyone that I have requested a manuscript. It takes me about 8 weeks, and now I'm pushing to 12 weeks to get back to people, just because I have so much reading to do.
But theoretically, they'll appreciate that if they become your client, that you're prioritizing your client's work over the seeking out of new clients, right?
Absolutely. But I think that, especially when you're a new writer querying for the first time, it does seem daunting when you just don't hear back, or someone has your manuscript forever. Like, oh, does it mean that they don't really like it? I will say for me, if I don't really like it, or if it's not the right fit, you'll hear from me pretty quickly. It's when I do like it and think and might be wavering about it that it takes longer to respond, because I agonize over decisions, especially when I really like the voice and really see the potential. And then I'm trying to figure out, am I the right person? Do I have a vision for it? Can I bring value to the client? Can I help them with their story? There's a lot of projects I get where I love it and I can see all the potential, and but I just don't have the vision for it. We're also a very collaborative agency, so sometimes I might get something and it's not right for me, but I'll share it with my colleagues because I know they might like it. And I've signed a lot of clients that way, actually, where I've had queries and projects passed to me because my other colleagues have fuller lists, and I'm building my list, and so I'm hungry right now, and so I've signed a number of clients that way. In fact, most recently I signed 3 new clients based on referrals from agents within my agency.
So in that scenario, if somebody gets a rejection from you and they're thinking, "Oh, I have 3 more Jennifers to submit to at Andrea Brown,"
No,
um, is that a good idea? And obviously, we don't want to do multiple submissions to agents
no.
within the same agency.
Our agency is a collaborative agency. So if you query me, we share work internally. So a no from me is a no from our entire agency because I've already shared it. So if you query again, it's not helpful because we've already looked.
So that at that point would just be an instant form response or just a delete.
Wait, sorry, what do you mean?
If you get a query and you realize that that's already been discussed with one of the other agents, or maybe a couple of agents, is that just an automatic form no,
Yeah.
delete?
Well, it's just against our submission policy guidelines. So our submission guidelines are this: you need to choose one agent from our agency to query, but know that we share work internally, so don't send to multiples. And then a no from one is a no from all. However, you are allowed to, or you can submit new work, a different project to us, or to a different, like if you submitted a picture book to me and I passed, you could submit a different picture book to another client, another agent at our agency. You also have an opportunity to significantly revise the project you submitted initially and resubmit it 6 months later. So say you submit a novel to me and I pass and you revise it, you can submit that revision to me. It's got to be significant 6 months later. And if you're resubmitting a project and you only sent the first 10 pages the first time and you significantly revise, please revise those first 10 pages too. You might have revised the rest of the novel, but remember, I didn't read the rest of the novel. I only read the first 10 pages. But here is the good news. If you send me 10 pages and I read it and I'm like, that's not quite there yet and not for me, and then you significantly revise and you send it to me again, it might be exactly what I'm looking for. It might be brilliant. I've only read the first 10 pages. I might then request your novel and realize I want to have it. So really take advantage of that opportunity to revise and to resubmit. We like to see authors who revise and who are willing to work on their craft. It shows tenacity, it shows perseverance, it shows that they are committed to their craft and committed to having a career, and that's what I'm looking for. So I like to see people who revise. On that note, be judicious about my time. There are a lot of writers, and I adore them, but they send me queries a lot, especially a lot of the picture book people, because picture books are short, you can write them really quickly. I would be judicious about how many picture books you send or how many projects you send. You don't want to pummel the agent with 15 queries in a year. Instead, give me a chance to have a break and then send me again later. But make sure you're always putting your very, very best foot forward and that's really polished and ready to go. As editorially as I am, and as much as I want to help someone elevate their story, I am looking for things that can sell and that are ready to sell. That's the ideal.